Hey, this is Animation Team doing a VOD review for Joshua. We're just gonna jump right into it. So first off, before we can touch on this particular animation, we've noticed how your fights have a certain flow that makes them feel all the same. By flow, I mean how the fight is structured and executed, and it really seems like you have a checklist for stuff that needs to be in an animation these days. Clashing intro? Check. Camera focusing on characters falling down and getting back up every single time? Check. Lots of build up for a hit without any matching payoff? Check. I think one of the ways you can get out of this phase is by maybe scripting a fight, or planning ahead by placing sounds to make a rhythm flow, storyboarding, blocking passes, or keeping notes in your layers. Okay, so back to the animation. This clash starts off very sudden. In one cut they're running, and then they immediately clash in the next cut, no build up or motion in their attacks. How we would do it is that during the speedline run you can have them both building up to an attack, so that the payoff of the clash has the necessary build up. This payoff, build-up thing is an issue that sticks with the rest of the animation, so keep that in the back of your mind. So during this combat sequence right before the up smash, a lot of the hit lingers on. Every single hit has hit stun with a camera shake, even the lands. The point of hit stun is to emphasize a hit with a lot of build-up and show off its power, but you have hit stun for jabs and light attacks as well. This constant use of hit stun makes the animation feel like it's stuttering and messing with the flow. Take a look at your animation that is sped up. We just chopped off some frames, but it already flows a lot better. Having a lack of these slow movements will improve your flow or pacing, both of the same thing. Another thing that'll improve pacing is cutting down the downtime in an animation. Ever notice how some actions will have characters waiting around and doing nothing? This happens a lot. It happens when Fox lands. The stun of the land also makes Sheik stop in her tracks. Or after Fox's rapid air kicks, Sheik waits there for Fox to charge into her and attack. If you just animated her getting ready, this would have reduced that downtime. You also don't need to have camera shake for every hit. In fact, it's better if you lessen it so that when you do have a hard hit, the camera shake will feel that much more impactful. This will also improve flow as well as varying up the camera work. Like Warren mentioned on his VOD review on Jose's animation, you can tween it, ease it, focus on body parts, and mess around with the zoom on it. On the topic of zooming, your animation is always so zoomed in. Like the most zoomed out part was probably around 29 seconds. However, the camera shake impact here needs a lot of work. You give the same camera shake for every hit, and none of these camera shakes taper out. You need to ease that out. Here's a clip on my VOD review on Elemental's animation. First, you figure out what your camera is going to follow. Next, you make a tween. You can add easing, it just depends on what you're doing. Then on every other frame, 1, 3, 5, shake the camera. I usually use my mouse and just drag it off into a really far direction for the first frame, and then the next frames of the camera calming down. Boom. Having it shake repeatedly for the same constant amount, then stopping suddenly is abrupt and looks jarring. Finally, the impact of the shake is all the same, making it impossible to differentiate the hits from another. This is especially noticeable in the next segment, the up smash. So for one, the slowdown of everything paused the flow of the animation. This is especially noticeable later on where you have characters waiting around for some arbitrary reason, like the slow motion here for the other opponent to attack. The camera shake of the impact is exactly the same for your other hits on top of the other issues mentioned before. What if, instead, you had a much harder camera shake for this hard kick? After this kick, Fox is suddenly about to attack, but it would have looked nicer and fixed the whole characters doing nothing problem if you had Fox jump at the end of the up smash cut, making them flow more coherently and filling the blanks. I'm not exactly sure what happened here. Fox awkwardly eases out slowly over quite a bit of distance and does his side B, but you're better off just doing this instantly. For when Sheik appears, there was no explosion. You could have had it cropped in the corner, like right here, just to indicate where they were coming from. No audio cue either. This makes it a lot harder for people to follow the combat. Like Warren mentioned in his VOD review on Jose's animation, having cuts just dedicated to someone falling and getting up breaks the flow, especially since there was information missing in the next cut where Sheik is just running. Instead of having this cutaway, you could zoom things out to get a view on both, or just focus on Sheik instead of having Fox get up on that shot of Sheik closing in. That leads into another issue, which is wherever a character is mid-air, you never have them rotate. When Sheik jumped up, I would imagine she'd rotate counterclockwise when she starts falling, but she just falls in that static pose. It looks way too stiff otherwise and makes Sheik look like they lack weight. Once again, characters usually just wait to get hit in your animation. We can see characters literally just sitting there. If If you were going for something like they were stunned, then you need to portray that better with an effect or have them brace themselves for the incoming impact in some way. Just having them still isn't enough since you aren't selling the impact of these hits in the first place. Overall, your animations are kind of echoing issues you've had in the past, what with stiffness, pacing, and camera work, amongst others. But the core of your issues come from commitment. You like to pull mechanics from other fighting games, in this case it's Brawl's Subspace Emissary, but instead of having the HUD, similar camera movement, and pacing to replicate that like what Zack did in his Maple Rush 6 entry, you have committed to it. You did their moves, that's cool, but with this up smash there was that weird slowdown. This halfway commitment in itself is not a big issue. Let me make myself clear that I think it is fine to integrate cool stuff you see from fighting games or games in general in your animation. But it seems like in your case, it's hindering what you're doing. Remember at the beginning where we said you have a checklist when you animate? That kind of applies to how you animate the fights. You kind of go for your own ideas, but then you remember you have to do a move from Smash, you have to charge an up smash, etc. And yeah, that's about all we have to say from a critical standpoint. Now, while we said these are issues you've had in the past, we hope this video makes it so these issues aren't present in the future. If you have any questions about this VOD or are confused at some points, feel free to DM any member of the animation team or ask on the Discord. Remember, we're here to work with you, not against you. We love to see people striving to improve themselves, and hey, if you ever feel up to it or if anyone else is out there, please submit a request for a VOD review. Be sure to see if it meets the guidelines if you do so. And to Joshua, good luck on your next project and keep up the grind. Sam!